Maya Johnson stepped out of her black sedan at Chicago O'Hare Airport and looked at her watch. She had plenty of time before her flight to New York. The morning sun was bright. She felt good about the business meeting, waiting for her in Manhattan. As the CEO of Johnson Capital Management, Maya was used to traveling. She flew at least twice a week for work. She walked into the airport terminal carrying her small black bag. Maya always traveled light for short trips. She wore a simple blue business suit and comfortable shoes. Her boarding pass was already on her phone, showing seat to A in first class. She had been a platinum member with Skyline Airlines for over 8 years. The check-in area was busy with morning travelers. Maya walked straight to the security line for first-class passengers. She had done this hundreds of times before. The line was much shorter than the regular security line. She pulled out her phone and driver's license, ready to show them to the security officer. Officer Kevin Murphy looked at Maya when she approached his station.
Ow.
He was a tall man with gray hair and had worked airport security for 15 years. He took her license and looked at it for a long time. Then he looked at her boarding pass on her phone. "Ma'am, can you step aside, please?" Kevin said. Maya was confused. "Something wrong with my ticket? Just need to check a few things."
Please.
"Step over there." Kevin pointed to a small area next to the main security line. Maya moved to where he pointed. She watched as other passengers went through security without any problems. A white man in an expensive suit went through right after her. Kevin barely looked at his documents. Maya waited for 5 minutes before Kevin came over to her. "Ma'am, I need to see more identification," Kevin said. "I already showed you my driver's license and boarding pass." "What else do you need?" Maya asked. "You have a passport or work ID?" Maya was getting frustrated. "I'm flying domestic. I don't need a passport. And yes, I have my work ID." She pulled out her company identification card that showed her name and title as CEO. Kevin looked at the card and frowned. "It says you're a CEO. What kind of company? Investment management?" "We handle money for large companies and pension funds." Kevin called over his supervisor, Linda Davis. Linda was a short woman with brown hair who had been working at the airport for 12 years. She looked at Maya's documents and then looked at Maya. "Ma'am, we need to do additional screening," Linda said. "Additional screening? For what reason?" Maya asked. "It's routine. Please follow me." Maya looked around. She saw other first-class passengers walking through security with no problems. An elderly white woman went through with just her boarding pass. A young white man in jeans and a t-shirt also went through icily. "This is not routine," Maya said calmly. "I've been flying with this airline for 8 years. I've never had additional screening before." "Ma'am, please cooperate," Linda said, her voice getting stern. Maya felt her heart start to beat faster, but she kept her voice calm. "I am cooperating. I'm asking why I need additional screening when other passengers don't." Linda ignored her question. "Please come with me now, or we'll have to call airport security." Maya knew this was wrong, but she followed Linda to a small room near the security checkpoint. Inside the room, Linda asked Maya to empty her bag and remove her shoes. Maya did what she was asked, but she was getting more upset. "Can you explain why this is happening?" Maya asked again. "We're just doing our job," Linda replied. After 10 minutes of searching through Maya's belongings, Linda found nothing unusual. Maya's bag had normal business items: a laptop, some papers, a phone charger, and a small makeup bag. "Am I free to go now?" Maya asked. "Not yet. Need to verify your ticket is real." Maya couldn't believe what she was hearing. "My ticket is real. I bought it through the airline's website. I can show you the confirmation email." Linda took Maya's phone and spent another 10 minutes checking the ticket information. Meanwhile, Maya's flight was getting ready to board. She could hear the announcements from the gate area. "Now boarding first-class passengers for Flight 447 to New York LaGuardia," came the voice over the loudspeaker. "That's my flight," Maya said. "I need to go." "Wait here," Linda said, and left the room. Maya sat alone in the small room for another 15 minutes. She could hear more boarding announcements. First class, then business class, then general boarding. She realized she was going to miss her flight. Linda came back with Captain Roy Bennett, the head of airport security. Roy was a large man who looked like he used to be in the military. He had a serious expression on his face. "Ma'am, we're going to need you to come with us," Roy said. "Come with you where?" "I haven't done anything wrong. I just want to catch my flight." "Your behavior has been disruptive. We need to remove you from the secure area," Maya stood up. "My behavior has been disruptive. I've been sitting here quietly while you searched my belongings for no reason. Their passengers went through security in 2 minutes. I've been here for almost an hour." "Ma'am, you need to come with us now," Roy said, stepping closer to Maya. Maya realized that arguing would only make things worse. But she also knew this was completely wrong. She had done nothing but try to catch her flight. "I want to speak to your supervisor," Maya said. "I am the supervisor. Let's go." Roy took Maya's arm and started to walk her toward the exit of the secure area. Maya didn't resist, but she spoke clearly. "This is discrimination. I'm being treated differently because I'm black. This is wrong, and I'm going to report this." "Ma'am, you're being removed for being disruptive, not because of your race," Roy said. As they walked through the airport, Maya noticed other travelers watching. Some people were recording with their phones. Maya held her head up and walked with dignity. Even though she felt humiliated, they reached her gate just as the plane was pulling away from the terminal. Maya watched her flight leave through the large windows. She had missed an important business meeting because of this treatment. Roy handed Maya her belongings and escorted her out of the secure area. She had to collect her checked bag and start over with her travel plans. Standing in the main terminal, Maya felt angry and hurt, but she also felt determined. She was not just any passenger. She was Maya Johnson, CEO of a company that managed billions of dollars. And Skyline Airlines was about to learn exactly who they had just messed with. Maya sat in the back of another taxi heading to her hotel. She had to book the next flight to New York, which was not until the evening. Her important business meeting was ruined. She felt tired and angry, but mostly she felt hurt. She pulled out her phone and called her assistant Carol Williams in New York. "Carol, it's Maya. I missed my flight. I'll be on the 6 p.m. flight instead." "What happened?" "You never miss flights," Carol said, sounding worried. Maya told Carol the whole story. As she spoke, she could hear Carol getting upset. "That's terrible." "Maya, that's completely wrong. Are you okay?" "I'm angry, but I'm fine. Can you move my meetings to tomorrow morning?" "Of course, but Maya, you should know something. People are already talking about this online." Maya was confused. "What do you mean?" "Some passengers recorded what happened at the airport. The videos are all over social media. People are sharing them everywhere." Maya felt her stomach drop. She did not want to be famous for this reason. "How bad is it?" "It's getting a lot of attention. The hashtag is trending. People are very angry about how you were treated." Maya hung up and opened her social media apps. She found the videos right away. One video showed her sitting calmly in the security room while Linda searched her bag. Another video showed Roy taking her arm and walking her out of the secure area. In the video, she could hear herself saying it was discrimination. The comments under the videos made Maya feel both better and worse. Thousands of people were supporting her and saying the treatment was wrong. But she also saw some mean comments from people who thought she deserved it. Maya's phone started ringing constantly. News reporters wanted to talk to her. She turned off her phone and tried to rest at the hotel. That evening, Maya finally made it to New York. Carol was waiting for her at LaGuardia Airport with a car. "Maya, this story is everywhere," Carol said as they drove to Manhattan. "All the major news stations are covering it. NBC, CNN, ABC. They all want interviews." "I don't want to be on TV talking about this," Maya said. "I understand, but maybe you should think about it. This could help other people who face the same treatment." Maya thought about Carol's words as they drove through the city. She had always been a private person. She worked hard and stayed out of the news. But maybe this was bigger than just her. Personal experience. The next morning, Maya went to her office on the 40th floor of a building in Manhattan. Johnson Capital Management had been her life's work. She started the company 15 years ago with just 3 employees. Now they had over 200 people working for them. Carol brought Maya a stack of newspapers. Every major paper had the story on the front page. The headlines made Maya cringe. Black CEO removed from plane in shocking video. Airport security under fire for treatment of business leader. Skyline Airlines faces backlash after viral video. Maya's business partner Diana Foster knocked on her office door. Diana had been with the company since the beginning. She was Maya's closest friend and the company's chief financial officer. "Maya, we need to talk," Diana said, sitting down across from Maya's desk. "You're going to tell me about the news coverage. I already know. It's not just the news coverage. It's Skyline Airlines' response. Have you seen it?" Maya shook her head. Diana handed her a printed statement from the airline. "Skyline Airlines regrets any inconvenience experienced by Ms. Johnson. We are reviewing our security procedures to ensure all passengers are treated fairly. We've reached out to Ms. Johnson to discuss this matter privately." Maya read the statement. Twice? Inconvenience? They think this was an inconvenience? That's exactly what I thought. The statement makes it sound like they accidentally served you the wrong meal. They don't even admit they did anything wrong. Maya felt her anger growing again. "Have they actually reached out to me?" Errol says no. No phone calls, no emails, nothing. Maya stood up and walked to her office window. She could see the busy streets of Manhattan below. People were going about their normal lives, while her life felt turned upside down. "Diana, I need you to pull some files for me." "What kind of files?" "I want to see all of our investment positions. Everything we manage." Diana looked confused. "All of them? It's hundreds of companies. What are you looking for?" Maya turned around and looked at Diana. "I want to know if we have any investments in Skyline Airlines." Diana's eyes widened. "I see where this is going. Let me get our research team on this right away." Within 2 hours, Maya had the information she needed. Senior analyst Marcus Thompson and researcher Karen Lewis came to her office with thick folders full of documents. "Maya, you're going to want to sit down for this," Marcus said. "We found it," Karen added, opening the first folder. "Johnson Capital Management has significant positions in Skyline Airlines." Maya felt her heart start beating faster. "How significant?" "Across all the portfolios we manage, we control about 4.8% of Skyline Airlines stock. That's worth approximately $2.1 billion at current prices." Maya sat down hard in her chair. $2.1 billion. "But that's not all," Marcus said. "We also hold $800 million in their corporate bonds. Plus, many of the pension funds we manage have additional positions in Skyline," Karen added, "when you add everything up, including supplier companies and related investments. Johnson Capital Management controls over $5 billion in Skyline Airlines-related investments." Maya stared at the numbers on the page. $5 billion. She thought about the security guards who treated her like a criminal. She thought about the airline's weak apology that called her humiliation and inconvenience. "They have no idea who they messed with," Maya said quietly. Diana smiled. "No, they don't. Maya, you have more power over Skyline Airlines than almost anyone else in the country." Maya looked at her team. "I want you to prepare detailed reports on all our Skyline investments, every stock, every bond, every related position, and I want to know exactly what would happen if we sold everything." "Maya, are you thinking about divesting?" Marcus asked. "I'm thinking about a lot of things. But first, I want Skyline Airlines to know exactly who they decided to discriminate against." That afternoon, Maya finally decided to take some interview requests. She called Patricia Stone, a reporter from NBC News who had been trying to reach her all day. "Ms. Johnson, thank you for speaking with us. Can you tell us what happened at the airport?" Maya told her story calmly and clearly. She explained how other passengers went through security easily while she was detained for over an hour for no reason. "What do you want to see happen now?" Patricia asked. Maya looked directly into the camera. "I want Skyline Airlines to know that discrimination has consequences. Real consequences. We're about to learn that treating people badly can be very expensive." "What does that mean exactly?" Maya smiled, but her eyes were serious. "It means they picked the wrong person to mess with. Johnson Capital Management is one of the largest investment firms in the country. We don't just manage our own money. We manage money for pension funds, universities, and major institutions. And a lot of that money is invested in Skyline Airlines. Patricia leaned forward. Are you saying you might pull your investments? I'm saying that companies need to understand that their actions have consequences. Skyline Airlines is about to get a very expensive lesson in how to treat people with respect. After the interview, Maya felt better than she had since the airport incident. She was no longer just a victim of discrimination. She was Maya Johnson, CEO of Johnson Capital Management, and she had the power to make Skyline Airlines pay for what they did to her. The next morning, Maya arrived at her office early. She had barely slept, but her mind was clear. She knew exactly what she needed to do. Carol brought her coffee and the morning newspapers. Maya, the NBC interview is everywhere. It's the top story on every news website, Carol said. Maya nodded but didn't look up from her computer. She was reading reports about Skyline Airlines stock price. It had dropped 3% since yesterday. Get me Peter Clark from our research team. I need him here in 10 minutes. Act. Peter Clark was Johnson Capital's best financial analyst. He was a quiet man who could find information about any company in the world. When he arrived at Maya's office, he carried a laptop and several thick folders. Peter, I need you to dig deeper into Skyline Airlines. I want to know everything about their finances, their debt, their business partnerships, everything. I've already started working on this, Peter said, opening his laptop. After yesterday's meeting, I figured you'd want more details. Peter pulled up charts and graphs on his computer screen. Skyline Airlines is not in great financial shape. They have high debt levels and their profit margins are thin. They depend heavily on business travelers and corporate contracts. What about their stock price? How sensitive is it to big investors selling? Very sensitive. The stock doesn't trade in huge volumes every day. If a major investor like us started selling, it would push the price down fast. Other investors would notice and might start selling too. Maya leaned back in her chair. What would happen if we sold all our positions at once? Peter looked uncomfortable. Maya, that would be devastating for them. We're talking about a 15 to 20% drop in stock price, maybe more. It could trigger a panic sell-off. And what about their corporate bonds? Even worse. If we dumped all our bond holdings, their credit rating could be downgraded. That would make it much more expensive for them to borrow money. Maya felt a surge of power. For the first time since the airport incident, she felt like she was in control. Diana Foster walked into the office with Tony Martinez, Johnson Capital's media strategist. Tony was a former journalist who helped the company handle press relations. Maya, we need to talk about your next moves, Tony said. The media attention is huge, but you need to be careful how you handle this. What do you mean? But you threaten. To pull billions in investments, some people might see it as using your wealth to get revenge. You need to frame this the right way. Maya thought about Tony's words. How should I frame it? This isn't about revenge. This is about corporate responsibility. Skyline Airlines discriminated against you, and companies that discriminate shouldn't. Get investment money from responsible firms like ours. Diana nodded. Tony's right. This has to be about principles, not personal anger. Maya stood up and walked to her window again. She could see the city below, full of people going to work, living their lives. Many of them probably faced discrimination, too, but they didn't have billions of dollars to fight back with. You're both right. But I want Skyline Airlines to understand that what they did was wrong. And I want other companies to see what happens when they treat people badly. Over the next few days, Maya worked with her team to plan their strategy. Peter Clark provided detailed analysis of every Skyline investment. Legal counsel Amanda Rodriguez reviewed all the rules about selling large stock positions. Tony Martinez planned Maya's media appearances. Maya decided to do a major interview with Helen Carter, a respected journalist who had been covering business news for 20 years. The interview would air on primetime television. Helen Carter came to Johnson Capital's offices for the interview. She was a serious woman with gray hair who had interviewed presidents and world leaders. Miss Johnson, you've suggested that your company might pull billions of dollars in investments from Skyline Airlines. Some people say this is just a wealthy person using money to get revenge. How do you respond?
How?
Maya looked directly at the camera. This isn't about revenge. This is about responsibility. Johnson Capital Management invests money for pension funds, universities, and charitable organizations. These institutions trust us to invest their money in companies that share their values. And Skyline Airlines doesn't share those values? A company that allows its employees to discriminate against passengers based on race doesn't share our values? No? Helen leaned forward. What exactly do you want Skyline Airlines to do? Maya had prepared for this question. I want them to admit what happened was wrong. I want them to train their employees properly. I want them to create systems to prevent this from happening to other people. And I want them to take real action, not just issue weak apology statements. And if they don't do these things, then Johnson Capital Management will have to reconsider whether Skyline Airlines is a good investment for our clients. After the interview, Maya felt confident about her message. She wasn't just threatening the airline. She was explaining why discrimination was bad for business. The interview aired 2 days later and created another media storm. Business news channels analyzed Maya's words carefully. Stock market experts talked about the potential impact on Skyline Airlines. Meanwhile, Skyline Airlines was starting to panic. Their stock price continued to fall. CEO Richard Hayes held emergency meetings with his board of directors. Their head of public relations, Greg Palmer, was working around the clock to manage the crisis. Maya received a call from her assistant, Carol. Maya, you have a call from Richard Hayes, the CEO of Skyline Airlines. Maya thought for a moment, put him through. Ms. Johnson, this is Richard Hayes. I think we need to talk. Mr. Hayes, I think we needed to talk 3 days ago. But you chose to issue a statement calling my experience an inconvenience instead. Ms. Johnson, I apologize for that statement. It didn't reflect how seriously we take this situation. What situation is that, Mr. Hayes? There was a pause. The discrimination you experienced at Chicago O'Hare? Maya was surprised. It was the first time anyone from Skyline Airlines had used the word discrimination. I appreciate you saying that, Mr. Hayes, but words are easy. What actions are you prepared to take? We're willing to provide you with a personal apology and compensation for your missed meeting. Maya almost laughed. Mr. Hayes, I don't think you understand the situation. This isn't about compensating me for a missed meeting. This is about fixing a system that allows your employees to discriminate against passengers. What do you want us to do? I want you to make real changes. Train your employees properly. Create systems to prevent discrimination. Make sure this never happens to anyone else. Ms. Johnson, we can discuss some training programs. Mr. Hayes, let me be very clear. $5 billion in Skyline Airlines-related investments. We represent pension funds for teachers, firefighters, and police officers. We represent universities and charitable organizations. These institutions don't want their money invested in companies that discriminate. There was a long silence on the phone. How much time do we have? Richard finally asked. You have 30 days to announce comprehensive changes to your policies and procedures. If you don't, we'll begin divesting all our Skyline holdings. Ms. Johnson, that would be devastating to our company. Mr. Hayes, what happened to me at your airport was devastating to me. But the difference is, you have a choice. You can fix this problem, or you can face the consequences. After Maya hung up, she felt a mix of satisfaction and nervousness. She had just threatened to pull $5 billion from a major corporation. There was no going back now. Diana walked into her office. How did it go? Gave them 30 days to make real changes or we start selling everything. Yeah. You sure about this? Once we start this process, Skyline Airlines might never recover. Maya thought about sitting in that small room at the airport, being treated like a criminal for no reason. She thought about all the other people who faced discrimination but didn't have her resources to fight back. Diana, some things are more important than money. If Skyline Airlines wants our investment dollars, they need to earn them by treating all passengers with respect. Maya had made her move. Now, she had to wait and see if Skyline Airlines would take her seriously or if she would have to follow through on her threat to pull $5 billion from the company. Maya stood in the large conference room at Johnson Capital Management. It was exactly 1 week since she had given Skyline Airlines their 30-day ultimatum. Why? Today, she was holding a press conference to make her demands public. The room was packed with reporters from every major news outlet. Camera crews filled the back of the room. Maya wore a navy blue suit and stood behind a podium with her company's logo on it. Behind her stood her executive team. Diana Foster, her business partner and CFO, stood to her right. Stephen Walsh, the company's coup, stood to her left. Julie Adams, head of corporate relations, and several other senior executives filled out the group. Maya looked out at the crowd of reporters and began to speak. Good morning. I was discriminated against by Skyline Airlines security at Chicago O'Hare Airport. I was detained, searched, and removed from my flight for no reason other than the color of my skin. The room was completely quiet. Maya continued. Johnson Capital Management is not just my company. We manage investments for teachers' pension, funds, firefighters, retirement accounts, university endowments, and charitable organizations. These institutions trust us to invest their money responsibly. Maya paused and looked directly at the cameras. Today, I am announcing Johnson Capital Management's formal demands to Skyline Airlines. They have 30 days to meet these requirements, or we will begin divesting all of our holdings in their company. She picked up a paper from the podium and read from it. Skyline Airlines must implement comprehensive anti-discrimination training for all employees who interact with passengers. This training must be conducted by outside experts, not internal staff. Second, they must establish an independent oversight committee to investigate bias incidents. This committee must include civil rights experts and community leaders, not just airline employees. Third, Skyline Airlines must create a new executive position for diversity and inclusion. This person must report directly to the CEO and have real authority to make changes. Fourth, the company must make substantial charitable contributions to civil rights organizations. We suggest at least $50 million over the next 5 years. Atiye looked up from the paper. If Skyline Airlines does not agree to all of these demands within 30 days, Johnson Capital Management will sell all of our investments in the company. This includes $5.2 billion in stocks, bonds, and related holdings. A reporter raised her hand. Ms. Johnson, what if Skyline Airlines only agrees to some of your demands? All of our demands are reasonable and necessary. We expect full compliance. Another reporter asked, some people say you're using your wealth to bully a corporation. How do you respond? Maya had expected this question. Johnson Capital Management invests money for working people, teachers, firefighters, police officers. These people trust us to put their money in companies that share their values. A company that discriminates against customers does not share those values. After the press conference, Maya and her team went back to her office. The phones were already ringing with calls from other news outlets wanting interviews. That went well, Diana said. You're clear and firm. Now we wait to see how Skyline responds, Maya replied. They didn't have to wait long. Within 2 hours, Skyline Airlines issued a statement. Greg Palmer, their head of public relations, released it to all major news outlets. Carol brought Maya a printed copy of the statement. Maya read it out loud to her team. Skyline Airlines takes all customer concerns seriously. We are committed to providing excellent service to all passengers regardless of race, gender, or background. We are reviewing Ms. Johnson's suggestions and will respond appropriately. Diana shook her head. Suggestions? They're calling your demand suggestions? And they're still not admitting they did anything wrong, added Stephen Walsh. Maya felt her anger rising again. They're not taking this seriously. They think they can wait us out. But Maya was wrong. Behind the scenes at Skyline Airlines, panic was spreading. CEO Richard Hayes was in emergency meetings with his board of directors every day. The board of directors included some of the most powerful business leaders in the country. Nancy Phillips, the board chairwoman, had been a CEO herself. For 20 years, Frank Cooper was a former government official who understood public relations crises. Catherine Mills had been a Treasury secretary and knew how financial markets worked. "Hey, Richard, this is a disaster," Nancy said during one board meeting. "Our stock price has dropped 12% since this started. It's going to get worse," added Catherine Mills. "I've been talking to people on Wall Street. Other big investors are watching this situation closely. If Johnson Capital actually starts selling, it could trigger a massive sell-off." Frank Cooper leaned forward. "Richard, you need to understand something. Maya Johnson isn't just any angry customer. She's one of the most respected business leaders in the country. When she talks, people listen." Daniel Brown, Skyline's CFO, had been running financial models all week. "If Johnson Capital sells all their holdings at once, our stock could drop 30% or more. Our credit rating would be downgraded. We might not be able to borrow money at reasonable rates." Richard Hayes felt overwhelmed. He had been CEO of Skyline Airlines for 8 years. It handled strikes, fuel price increases, and economic downturns. But he had never faced anything like this. "What do you all think we should do?" Richard asked his board. "Give her what she wants," said Nancy Phillips, without hesitation. "All of it?" Richard asked. "But us. This woman controls $5 billion of our stock. She's not bluffing. Frankly, her demands aren't unreasonable. We should have been doing this stuff already." Catherine Mills nodded. "Nancy's right. Anti-discrimination training, diversity leadership. These are things most major companies already do. We've been behind the times." But Richard was stubborn. "I don't like being told what to do by outside investors. We run this company, not them." Frank Cooper sighed. "Richard, you're missing the point. She's not telling us how to run our airline operations. She's telling us how to treat customers fairly. That's something we should want to do anyway." The Skyline board was debating. Maya was getting support from unexpected places. Other major investment firms were starting to follow her lead. Robert Kim, CEO of Peterson Investment Group, called Maya personally. "Maya, I wanted you to know that Peterson Investment Group supports your position. Reviewing our own Skyline holdings. I appreciate that, Robert. This isn't just about me. This is about corporate responsibility. I agree completely. We're considering our own divestment if Skyline doesn't respond appropriately." Susan Baker, who managed Highland Capital, sent Maya a similar message. "Highland Capital stands with you, Maya. Companies need to understand that discrimination has financial consequences." Within 2 weeks of Maya's press conference, Skyline Airlines stock had dropped 18%. The company had lost over $4 billion in market value. Richard Hayes finally realized he was fighting a losing battle. He called another emergency board meeting. "I think we need to negotiate with Maya Johnson," he said. "It's about time," Nancy Phillips replied. "What are you thinking?" "Maybe we can meet some of her demands, but not all of them. $50 million for charity seems excessive." Catherine Mills laughed. "Richard, you're still not getting it? Our company has lost $4 billion in value. $50 million is nothing compared to that. And Maya Johnson has made it clear she wants full compliance with all her demands," added Frank Cooper. "She's not negotiating." Daniel Brown, the CFO, had more bad news. "Richard, I need to tell you something else. 3 more major investment firms have announced they're reviewing their Skyline positions. If they follow Johnson Capital's lead, we could lose another $2 billion in investment." Richard felt defeated. So, Richard, we're saying we should do the right thing, Nancy Phillips said firmly. Maya Johnson is asking us to treat passengers fairly and train our employees properly. These aren't unreasonable demands. They're basic human decency. Richard looked around the room at his board members. We're all looking at him expectantly. Fine, he said finally. Set up a meeting with Maya Johnson. We'll discuss her demands. But Maya wasn't interested in discussions anymore. When Richard's assistant called to request a meeting, Maya's response was simple. Tell Mr. Hayes that he has 2 weeks left to announce his compliance with all our demands. If he wants to discuss implementation details after he agrees, we can talk then. Richard Hayes realized he was out of options, and Maya Johnson had backed him into a corner, and the only way out was to give her everything she wanted. It was day 28 of Maya's 30-day ultimatum. Skyline Airlines' stock price had fallen 25%. The company had lost over $5 billion in market value. Richard Hayes knew he was running out of time. Maya sat in her office, watching the financial news on television. The reporter was talking about Skyline Airlines and showing charts of their falling stock price. Skyline Airlines continues to face pressure from Johnson Capital Management, the reporter said. CEO Maya Johnson has given the airline until Friday to meet her demands or face a massive divestment. Carol knocked on Maya's door. Maya, you have a call from Richard Hayes. Maya picked up the phone. Mr. Hayes. Ms. Johnson, we need to talk. Can we meet in person? Mr. Hayes, we can talk right now. Are you ready to announce that Skyline Airlines will meet all of our demands? There was a long pause. Yes, we accept all of your requirements. Maya felt a surge of satisfaction, but she kept her voice calm. I want that announcement made publicly, Mr. Hayes. Today, we'll hold a press conference this afternoon. Good, I'll be watching. That afternoon, Maya gathered her team in the conference room to watch Skyline Airlines' press conference. Richard Hayes stood at a podium in the airline's headquarters in Dallas. He looked tired and defeated. Skyline Airlines acknowledges that we failed Ms. Maya Johnson at Chicago O'Hare Airport, Richard began. What happened to her was wrong and unacceptable. Maya leaned forward in her chair. This was the first time Richard Hayes had clearly admitted the airline did something wrong. Today, I am announcing comprehensive changes to how Skyline Airlines operates, Richard continued. First, we will implement mandatory anti-discrimination training for all employees. This training will be designed and conducted by outside civil rights experts. Second, we are creating an independent oversight committee to investigate any future bias incidents. This committee will include civil rights leaders and community representatives. Third, Skyline Airlines is creating a new position, Vice President of Diversity and Inclusion. This person will report directly to me and will have full authority to make policy changes. Richard paused and looked directly into the camera. Fourth, Skyline Airlines will donate $100 million over the next 5 years to civil rights organizations. Maya was surprised. Richard had announced $100 million, not the $50 million she had demanded. Finally, Richard said, I want to personally apologize to Ms. Maya Johnson. What happened to her should never happen to anyone. Are committed to doing better. After the press conference ended, Maya's office erupted in celebration. Diana hugged her. Stephen Walsh shook her hand. The whole team was smiling and laughing.
You did it, Maya,
Diana said.
You actually did it.
Maya felt proud, but also exhausted. It had been a long month of pressure and stress. We all did it. This was a team effort. The next day, financial markets responded positively to Skyline's announcement. Her stock price went up 8%. Other major investment firms announced they would not divest their Skyline holdings. Robert Kim from Peterson Investment Group called Maya. Congratulations, Maya. You handled this perfectly. Skyline did the right thing. Thank you, Robert. I hope other companies are watching and learning from this. Over the next few weeks, Skyline Airlines began implementing their promised changes. They hired Tracy Anderson, a respected civil rights lawyer, as their new Vice President of Diversity and Inclusion. Tracy had worked for the Department of Justice and several major corporations. The airline also hired Dr. Michael Davis, a professor from Howard University, to design their anti-discrimination training program. Dr. Davis had been studying workplace bias for 20 years. Maya received regular updates on Skyline's progress. She was impressed by how seriously they were taking the changes. 3 months after Richard Hayes' announcement, Maya decided to test Skyline Airlines personally. She booked a first-class ticket from New York to Los Angeles on Skyline. When Maya arrived at JFK Airport, she was nervous. The last time she had flown Skyline, she'd been humiliated and removed from her flight. But she wanted to see if their changes were real. As Maya approached the security checkpoint, she noticed something different. There was a sign that said Skyline Airlines is committed to treating all passengers with dignity and respect. The security officer, a young woman named Lisa Martinez, looked at Maya's boarding pass and smiled. "Good morning, Ms. Johnson. Welcome to Skyline Airlines." Maya was surprised that Lisa knew her name. "Good morning, Ms. Johnson. Mr. Hayes asked me to let him know when you were flying with us. He'd like to speak with you before your flight." "If you have time." Maya was curious. "Where is he?" "He's waiting at the gate, but only if you want to see him. You don't have to." Maya thought for a moment. "Okay, I'll see him." Maya went through security without any problems. The process was quick and respectful. When she arrived at her gate, she saw Richard Hayes standing near the boarding area. He looked nervous. "Ms. Johnson, thank you for agreeing to see me," Richard said, walking over to her. "Mr. Hayes, I'm surprised to see you here. I wanted to personally make sure everything went smoothly for your flight today. And I wanted to thank you." Maya was confused. "Thank me? You forced us to become a better company. The changes we've made aren't just good for public relations. They're good for our employees and our customers. We should have done this years ago." Maya studied Richard's face. He seemed sincere. "I'm glad to hear that, Ms. Johnson. I know you didn't have to keep your investments in Skyline after we met your demands. Thank you for giving us a chance to prove we've changed." Maya boarded her flight and was seated in first class. The flight attendant, a man named Carlos Rodriguez, greeted her warmly. "Ms. Johnson, it's an honor to have you flying with us today. Is there anything special I can get for you? Just the regular service is fine, thank you." During the flight, Maya reflected on everything that had happened. She had turned a terrible experience into positive change. Skyline Airlines was now a better company because of what she had done. When Maya landed in Los Angeles, she received a text message from Tracy Anderson, Skyline's new VP of Diversity and Inclusion. "Ms. Johnson, I wanted you to know that our bias incident reports have dropped by 70% since we implemented the new training. Thank you for making this possible." Maya smiled as she read the message. The changes were working. 6 months later, Maya was invited to speak at a business conference about corporate responsibility. The room was filled with CEOs and business leaders from major companies. "What happened to me at Skyline Airlines was wrong," Maya told the audience, "but it taught me something important. When companies do wrong things, customers and investors have the power to demand change. I didn't sue Skyline Airlines. I didn't try to destroy their business. I used the economic power that comes with managing billions of dollars to force positive change, and it worked." Maya looked out at the audience of business leaders. "Every person in this room has the power to make your company better. You can create policies that treat all customers fairly. You can train your employees to respect everyone. You don't have to wait for someone like me to force you to do the right thing." After her speech, Maya received a standing ovation. Several CEOs came up to her and promised to review their own company's policies. Maya had started as a victim of discrimination, but she had used her intelligence, her resources, and her determination to create positive change. She had shown that one person, with the right tools and strategy, could force a major corporation to do better. More importantly, Maya had created a model for other people to follow. She had shown that economic pressure could be more effective than lawsuits or protests. She had proven that holding companies accountable for discrimination was not just morally right, it was financially powerful. Maya Johnson had turned her worst travel experience into her greatest business victory. Skyline Airlines had learned that treating customers with respect was not just the right thing to do. It was essential for business success.